All right, we're back for part 2 of Star Trek versus Star Wars. So where I left off was 2002 up to Attack of the Clones. I'm gonna stop there. So rewinding back to 94. So 94, Star Trek Generations came out. 2 years after that, First Contact came out. 2 years after that, 98, Star Trek Insurrection dropped, and then 4 years later, Nemesis dropped in 2002. Actually, I had to look it up on YouTube because I couldn't remember when the hell it dropped. I wanted to say '03, but that wasn't right. It came out the DVD in '03, but no. And, that was it for Star Trek films until a whole 7 years later. And then going to 2005, 3 years after Attack of the Clones, you get Revenge of the Sith, which, ended the prequel trilogy. And then after '05, some decade later, no, not a decade, 3 years later, you had 2008's Clone War films. Clone War film. Yeah, Clone Wars film came out. And in between all that, you had, it was a back and forth yo-yo deal. You had, show, movie. Oh, excuse me. And this isn't a rant series. This is a Versus series. I made a new playlist. So this will be the beginning of my Versus series. So it's going to be a long one for these two. So you go back and forth with it. You get movies, you get shows, you get movies, you get shows. And everybody wants to base shit on, what's on screen and what's on TV. Because some people only strictly go by that. Me, I take in everything. Shows, movies, books, comics, reference guides, all that shit. I have a lot of shit. Like, my head's starting to hurt thinking about it because it's so much to take in. And when you take all that in, it's a lot to encompass because there's also, in the comics, let's start with comics. With the comics, there's, all the different stories that came out in between the original series and Next Generation and DS9, DS9 and Voyager, Voyager and Enterprise and Discovery. Discovery's even got comics as well. Picard's probably gonna have comics too. Where's my fucking water at? Come here, bitch. I'm thirsty. This video brought to you in part by H2O. Hydrate your ass, bitch! Back to the program. So. Oh, it's my train of thought. Comics, thank you. So you have all them comics, and they tie into each other. Like, you have just, the regular comics, then you have the crossover comics. You had Star Trek X-Men, which I recently discovered. That was pretty cool. There's Star Trek Doctor Who, there's Star Wars. I don't think Star Wars done any crossovers that I know of. Like, I haven't really done much. I know Star Wars was part of Marvel back in the 70s or 80s, one of the two. And then they left for Dark Horse Comics, and then Dark Horse Comics Star Wars was phenomenal. Star Trek's with IDW. Yeah, that's with IDW. I have to think because I've read so much shit over the years, it's hard to keep track. And then you have, you got the books, and there's tons of novelizations. I have the entire Star Wars audiobook collection on my laptop. It is 64 gigs of books. Yeah, minus the Shakespeare ones. I don't like those. They're boring as fuck. They bore the fuck out of me. I don't like it. I don't like it. I heard it. I'm like, nope, I'm not keeping that shit. Fuck that. What else did I get? There's still some Star Wars books I haven't read yet because I didn't know they existed. But we're judging based on, strength and, legacy. Basically, strength versus legacy, in a sense. You know, is the fan base as strong as it was then as it is now? uh, yes and no. Because there's a lot of people who don't like either fandom and they'll ignore it for a long time. I don't blame them. I really don't. Like, not everybody needs to get into a fandom right away. That's understandable. Like, you don't have to do it just because someone else is. If somebody tells you to jump off a bridge and kill yourself, are you going to do that shit? No. Unless there's a thing of Skittles at the bottom of the lake. Or maybe you're partial to peanut and peanut butter M&Ms. I don't fucking know. Or maybe you're strictly Reese's Pieces. I don't know. Or you like Mounds bars. Fuck it, I'm getting off topic. Yeah, don't commit suicide, kids. It's not cool. With books, there's so many fucking books. Last I looked at Star Trek audiobooks, there were, I want to say 19 to 25 of them. Now, that's small potatoes, audiobook-wise. That's just audiobooks. That's not, every single Star Trek book they made. There's a lot of Star Trek books that weren't made into audiobooks, and I didn't know that. And, I haven't really read any of them, honestly. The only ones I've really read were Star Trek Borg, Star Trek Klingon, shit. What's that one? The New Frontier. I think I like that. I don't quite remember. There's a tape with Sulu on the front. I don't remember what the fuck that was. Red one, I forget. It's in my storage. The Eugenics Wars, that was a damn good read. The Rise and Fall of Khan Noonien Singh. Good shit. I love him. What else was there? There's so many choices. It's ridiculous. Like, there were a lot of fucking choices to choose from. It was nuts. It's just, like, legacy-wise, Star Trek has a big legacy, and so does Star Wars as well, but they're both, a decade apart from each other, give or take? Yeah, it's like, yeah, they're about 13 years apart from each other. And legacy-wise, Star Wars has a strong legacy with it. Oh, damn, that's good. Whew. Star Trek has the same as well. But for varying reasons. People like Star Trek because of the Enterprise. Because, everybody's like, what's your favorite ship? Oh, the Enterprise. Every fucking time. Go back to Star Wars. What's your favorite ship of all fucking time? Millennium Falcon. And it just, it goes back and forth. Everybody's like, oh, I like the Millennium Falcon. That's my favorite ship. And every time, it's like they pick the same shit because that's what's synonymous with it. They skip over every other motherfucking ship for the most part, and then they go to their main hit. I'm like, really, dude? Like, there's other ships, there's other characters. Now, if we're going to talk diversity between the two of them, there's a lot of diversity. There's a shit ton of diversity. There's, you got more alien species on... I'm trying to think which side has more aliens on it. That's the hardest part. I'll say Star Wars for now, because I haven't really looked at Star Trek in a while, so... It might be evenly matched out. I don't know off the top of my head, but it sounds evenly matched, give or take. Politically, Star Trek takes that for sure because, Star Wars didn't really focus much on politics, to be honest. They didn't focus on the political angle until, like, what was it, 2000? Actually, no. Yeah, Revenge of the Sith, they didn't focus. That was '05. So it took them a while to focus on the political part of it. Now I'm talking film wise. You know, like in books, they focused on politics right after Return of the Jedi. So like in the in the 80s they started that shit. And you have so many tie-in books, so many tie-in comics, so many reference guides. Star Wars, I think, has the most reference guides ever. I should know I own a good fucking chunk of them. Whew, wow. The only ones I don't own are the OT reference books. I don't give a shit about them. I don't have all of the prequels. I have most of the sequels. I got Solo, Rogue One, Rebels. I hope to do one for Resistance, though. That'd be nice. That'd be really fucking nice. Damn, I scratched my shit. Yeah, I did. Fuck. Shit happens. But yeah, and then when you look at how each show, each fandom has evolved at that certain time period, you can really tell a difference. You see a difference in tone, a difference in story, a difference in character building, a difference in emotion. You can really see it unless you're not really paying attention to it. It happens. Like, who has the strongest set of main characters, Star Trek or Star Wars? For me personally, I would definitely go, like, if we're gonna go further back, like if we're doing like from the early version of Star Wars to like Dawn of the Jedi, I'm talking, to now, and then with Star Trek from Discovery till now, uh, memorable characters, definitely Star Wars. But then again, it's an even tie. It can be an even tie between the two of them. But for me, it's Star Wars. But right now, I'm more into Star Trek because, you know, I can take a break from Star Wars whenever the fuck I want. Because people get some pissy ass attitudes about shit. You have to like everything. You can't hate the OT. You're not a real fan. Fuck you. Didn't see that job promotion coming, did you? Took you a long time to get it, right? Jesus. Weren't planning on having kids, but you got kids. Oh. Oh, man. So, in terms of reference, guys, like I said before, Star Wars has a shit ton. Star Trek didn't really have many, to be honest. They have 3 different reference books. They had the black and white one. Then they had the colorized one, which was brand new to include Star Trek First Contact. So that came out in 97, I think. I think that's right. 97 or 98 it came out. And then for... no, not 20. Oops. Not 20. 18 years. That's the only reference guide they had, because I had everything in it. I think it had everything. Oh no, and then 2016, they released a 2-volume set that I did a review on. You can find that in the book series playlist. And then that just had the movies and the shows. No comics, no books. Sucks. Still waiting on that one to happen. Oh, here we go. Cool. And then they had the technical guides. They had the blueprints. They had Ships of the Galaxy, which was basically an art collection from various artists. Ships of the Line, that's what it was called. Now they have, what's this one? I can't read it from here. It's on my glasses. Oh, what the fuck are you called? Oh, Designing Starships. That's what it's called. And then they have the timeline, 2 timeline books, and there's a couple other ones. So they have like under under a full dozen books, give or take, of Star Trek. Not many. And then they had a visual dictionary, which only covered up to season 5 of Voyager. That was stupid. It's good, but stupid. Because it's just season 5 of Voyager. It's like, I need more. Like, give me a visual dictionary that has everything. And then they have cookbooks and all these other crazy fucking shit. Cookbooks, coloring books, all kinds of stuff. Art books, love those. Those are my favorite. And so on and so forth. And then you have video games too. You know, who had the better video games? Star Wars. Because Star Trek didn't really have, like, the best Star Trek video game was Star Trek Legacy. Yeah, I played that. I loved the fuck out of that game. I wanted to own that bitch. I loved it so much. So much fun to play. Because you got to play all these different ships, get the ship combat. It's awesome. It's the shit. It's the tits, man. It's awesome. Shit's old. And then they did Star Trek Online. There were a couple of Star Trek games. I don't know all of them. But, you know, Star Wars focuses on one main conflict. And that's how they become such a cultural icon. Star Trek focuses on, you know, the Enterprise and doing world building. That's what separates Trek from Wars. Is Trek does a ton of world building, whereas Star Wars takes its basic concept and sets it into world building. Like, it doesn't build it correctly. For me, that's from my perspective. That's my 2 cents. Because when you do world building, it's a hard thing. You have to take in a lot of shit. You have to, you know, build a conflict. You have to build the people, ships, etc., etc., etc. You know, if you're into politics, you're into religion, so on and so forth. It's a pain in the ass. But the way they do world building in Trek is pretty fucking good. I love it. It's good. It's simple. It's easy. It just gets too technical with the fucking ships. That's the thing I don't like. It's annoying. Makes me want to cry. So, the bigger question is, you know, who would win in a fight? That's the biggest motherfucking question. And then there have been countless YouTube videos about that, you know, who would win, you know, Star Trek versus Star Wars. Take the strongest ship against their strongest ship. Who's gonna win? That's a tough fucking question, because ships keep evolving and you have so much. And, you know, who introduces it's a hard thing to do. It's like, who's got the bigger fleet, who's got the better command, and all this, that, and the other. It's really hard to pick. Because you can't just say, you know, like, hey, Star Wars does it because they have a Death Star, blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck that thing, God. Like, quit relying on OT shit, dude. Stop. And I'm trying not to be biased in this video. It's really hard to not be biased. But if you were, like, I look at everything that I have encountered and enjoyed, and it's so hard to pick a clear victor because, you know, you grow up with one thing. Because I watched Next Generation with my grandmother when I lived on the farm years ago when I was a kid. Wee little me. So we grew, you know, there's that bond. You know, it's like, damn, I grew up watching Trek. Like, I love Trek. And then you have all this tie-in stuff, and you didn't know about it until you were older, and you're like, wow, there's more stuff. Because the job of any show when it goes off the air is, or in between. I know this is over 20 minutes. Fuck it, I want to get this part in and then go to part 3. When you finish a show, or even during the show, if there's a break between seasons, there's always books that are put out in between seasons. X-Files did this. Because I actually saw some of them at the library when I was younger. They were on the shelf. It was like, oh, read this, and had that sticker that said, takes place between seasons 3 and 4 of the X-Files, and season 4 returns in spring or whatever. But yeah, that was the big selling point. And if a show or movie ends, it's the, you know, I can't think of the fucking word. Franchise. There we go. God damn. It's the franchise's job to provide more material or let it go. That's a choice. They can let it go or put out more material. So they put out more material. And that material is how it ties back into the movies, the shows, all that shit, the specials they do. So there's a lot they have to factor in. And sometimes there's inconsistencies. Sometimes there's shit that doesn't quite make sense. But, you know, fuck it. At least it's something to read. Why do you gotta pick it apart? Like, here's something that I really like the most about Star Wars. Komari Vasa. Now, you know that name. If you don't know that name, she's from the video game Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Okay? She had a small shit role in the game, but her lightsabers lived on. When she died, she was under Dooku's tutelage, I think. And her lightsabers were presented to Asajj Ventress. So Ventress's lightsabers, Komari's lightsabers became Ventress's lightsabers. That's how you tie it in. That's what made me so happy. I was like, oh wow, that's how Ventress got her lightsabers. Because everything in Star Wars, this is why their storytelling is kind of superior, is that everything ties back to its original roots. Even the smallest goddamn thing will tie back to a character or a place or a fucking cup. It could be a damn cup, and the cup will have a fucking story, and that story will tie into another fucking story. That's the beauty of storytelling. That's why I love that. That's what makes Star Wars superior storytelling wise. And what they're doing in Discovery is the same thing. They're tying it all together, which is really cool, and I like that. That's why I like Discovery so much, because it's so much fun and shit. So I will be back with part 3. Stay tuned.